Yvonne is a creative writer who won a Creative Writing Award in Year 5. She wrote and illustrated her first children's book for a class project in Year 12 and also won a Silver Key in the Comic Arts section of the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Please welcome Yvonne as she takes us on this children's workshop titled Artistic Achievements Illustration 101.
Hello everyone, my name is Yvonne Ogbechi and I'm an aspiring comic artist, and it's a huge honor to speak with all of you today and lead this workshop. I hope all of you are doing well today. So to start us off, the very first thing I would like to tell you guys is that the way I see it, the most important thing about illustrating is to just do whatever makes you happy. Whether illustration is just a hobby or a dream job for you, it won't matter what you do unless you actually enjoy the content you create and connect as much as possible with people who also enjoy that content. Otherwise, you're not going to have a good time with what you do at all. As for how I started, like most other artists, it started from childhood with me having too much time on my hands and a lot of paper at home. I remember very clearly my younger brother and I would spend hours watching our favorite cartoons, and then other hours recreating our favorite characters and scenes as much as possible with our very minimal skills. At that point in time, it was just a fun little hobby. I didn't think it had much merits until I got to year 4. As foggy as my memories of that time are, I definitely remember it being one of my first days at that school, and I was just sitting by myself drawing, like I think it was a cat. I was minding my business, and then my classmates came and surrounded me and were like, "Oh wow, that's such a good drawing, you're such a great artist." And I was like, "Wow, okay, thanks." And it was surprising because it was really nice, but it was really nice to be appreciated for a skill that I was apparently the best at amongst everyone. And that's how I became known as the token artist in my class for the next 7 years of my life. New secondary school, same thing. First week of me being there, I already had a bunch of my classmates asking me to draw them. When we were assigned group projects that involved drawing, people usually came to me even if they weren't in my group. When we needed birthday cards or almost anything art related done, guess who they came to first? Now that I think about it, I should have made people pay me for all of that. It never hurts to start commissioning people early. Moving on from that, let's talk about how to actually develop our skills. Now, when you ask an artist the best way to build up on your skills, there's a 99% chance that the first thing they'll tell you is to practice. And yes, that is an important thing to do, but you also need to know what to practice and how. Along with practicing, you need inspiration and references, especially if you're just starting out. What exactly do you want to draw? How do you want to draw it? And what do you want to improve on? For example, my current style is heavily based on semi-simplistic cartoons and comics, as you can see from this piece here. For example, my current style is heavily based on semi-simplistic cartoons and comics, so I draw a lot of inspiration from media that match the style I'm going for and practice recreating design aspects that I liked most, and that's how I'm capable of creating works such as this that I'm showing you now. This is one of my most recent pieces and something that I'm extremely proud of. It's also extremely helpful to use the internet to your advantage, because you can simply look up references on how to draw certain things in different styles, be it cartoony, anime-like, or realistic, and I promise you that you'll find tons of step-by-step processes and references to implement into your own style, into your own work. Now you're probably wondering, what do I use to actually draw these things? Well, we're getting there. For those of you that are just starting out, you probably won't need anything more than some paper, pencils, and color pencils. But as you go along, you may want to experiment with other mediums such as watercolors, markers like I do, and other things. Remember, you don't need expensive materials in order to make good art. As long as you have the skills and know the appropriate techniques, you can make great art with even the simplest of materials. And it doesn't always have to be a very complex piece with full colors and rendering and everything. Sometimes even simple sketches and doodles are enough. For example, character design pieces that I've done in the past were just simple sketches, and I feel like that's enough to convey the idea I was going for. After you've covered the how, the art style, and medium, it'll be important to cover the what. Exactly what aspects of drawing do you enjoy doing the most and want to do more of, and what aspects do you struggle with the most and want to improve on. Be it backgrounds, character designs, drawing different facial features, hands, which I promise you a lot of artists do not like doing, the advice remains the same. Draw inspiration from other artworks and media that you feel would help you the most. For example, for character design, I've been drawing inspiration from a game called Genshin Impact, and that's how I've been able to create works like this. And also allow yourself to experiment with different aspects and techniques. Even direct imitation is allowed as long as you plan to use it purely for practice and don't intend on ripping off someone else's work. I promise you that's one of the worst things you can do to an artist. So with all that hard work and practice, you want to share your art with other people, correct? Let me tell you, one of the best ways to do that is through social media. For me, I started out by posting my art on a well-known art site known as DeviantArt, which I'm sure some of you have heard of before I eventually moved on to Instagram, which is currently my main point of connection with other content creators. Other options include Twitter, Tumblr, and the recently created artist app known as Artful. Building a following on any of these sites is takes a lot of time, but I promise that it's extremely satisfying each time you hit a milestone. For example, I've been running my Instagram page for almost 4 years now, and I just recently hit 2,000 followers, which is extremely cool for me. Now, the best thing about using social media for sharing content is that it lets you connect with people with similar talents, hobbies, and interests who are able to support you and your art and give you the motivation to keep going, as well as it being a great place for extra inspiration and fun challenges such as draw this in your style, tune me, and drawing in other people's art styles. But before you get into all that, you also need to know that using social media has just as many setbacks as benefits. So you have to be ready to deal with different situations, such as people stealing your art or your post flopping, which means it not getting as many likes as you had hoped. For the latter, I just need you guys to know that the number of likes your post gets doesn't directly equal how valuable it is, because anything you do your absolute best to create is already extremely valuable, no matter if it gets 5 likes or 5,000. And in terms of art theft though, here's a secret. You're actually allowed to sue people that steal your art, because that falls under copyright infringements, if some of y'all even know what that is, which is against the law. So keep that in mind. It'll help you a lot later on. Before I end my recording here, I want you guys to consider the following things. What inspires you? What shows, movies, games, or people give you the ideas you need to create the kind of art you like to see? What exactly do you want to do with your art? Do you want to keep it as a hobby, or do you want to turn it into something profitable? You're free to discuss this amongst yourselves, and so with that, I'll be signing off. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you guys the absolute best of luck with everything you do. Goodbye.